All right, it says that I'm live. I don't have anybody on watching at the moment, so I'll give it a couple of minutes, see if anybody comes on. Otherwise, I'm just going to start talking and you can watch it later. All right, so I'm just going to start talking. Happy Monday to nobody who's watching, but happy Monday to those who watch later. All right, so today I thought I'd jump on and do a live stream. Oh, hi, I've got one person watching. Yay. If you have any comments or questions, just pop them in the comments, little chat box on the side, and I will get to see those. Okay, so I thought I'd get on today and have a chat, do a bit of an update on what's happening with me with my weight loss challenge that I have set myself and my insulin resistance challenge. So I don't know whether you have watched my channel before, whether you've seen me before, or whether you've been following along with my journey, but I have been on the carnivore diet for 3 years, just over 3 years, and I'm still insulin resistant. Quite insulin resistant. So my HOMA-IR, I was tested about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and my HOMA-IR was 4.16, which is really high. And so I kind of realized that, okay, I need to, a lot of things have resolved and gotten better in the last 3 years on carnivore, but I kind of decided, okay, I really need to do something about this. And I've realized that because my insulin is high, that's why my weight isn't dropping the way that I would like it to. So I've had body recomposition in the last 3 years and a little bit of weight loss on the scales, but not a whole lot. So I've still got probably 40 or 50 pounds to lose easily. I actually don't know what my ideal weight is because I've never really been there. So that's all a bit of a mystery for me, and I can only just guess. But so what I've done is I've done a lot of learning over the last 3 years, and I have kind of created this plan from the things that have come to me through, watching other people's videos and reading and looking at research and through my own experience. And I've created a plan that I decided to start following on Monday of this week, so on the 1st of September. So it's been a week today, and I've had some really good results so far, which I knew that I would. I have experimented with bits of this over the last probably 18 months or so, and now it's kind of like I'm just putting it all together, and I was really quite excited to start. But it's interesting, the way our minds work. The day I started, so I was really excited last week when I was thinking about this and getting started, and I couldn't wait. And then when it got to Monday, that all changed, and I've noticed myself doing that before in the past. It's like I get really inspired by the idea, and then as soon as I start, it's almost like this whole self-sabotage thing kind of kicks in. And that's, as I said, it's something I've been kind of aware of for a while. And so I've just been watching myself and watching the way that I am. I've kind of settled into it now, but Monday was an interesting day for that. I've actually been reading a book called The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. I had been looking for answers because if you've watched me before, I've had huge bowel issues with diarrhea, which has been a big part of my life for decades. When I started on the carnivore diet, it got worse, and it really didn't settle until it's kind of really just started to settle over the last 12 months. Still not perfect. I still have my moments, but it's like a million times better than it was. And so trying to work through that, I've been looking at answers for emotional issues because I know that that's a part of what goes on with me. And I think anyone who's had long-term diarrhea issues would be really aware that mental side of things is a real thing. So I had come across Dr. Bradley Nelson and The Emotion Code a little while ago, and but it was in amongst a whole lot of other things I was looking at, so I kind of got lost in the noise. And then a lady that I follow on X, chat to her a little bit. Her name's Ray Carnival Bull, she goes by on X. She reads a lot of books and things, and she was reading it, and she put up a post about her dog and how she'd worked on her dog using herself as a surrogate. And her dog wasn't responding to the thunderstorm that was coming in like he normally would. And that kind of triggered my memory about the Emotion Code. And so I actually ended up buying the audio book on Audible. And I've almost finished it. And I've been experimenting with this emotional release. And there's differences already, which is fantastic. I could kind of feel that there was changes going on. So that's something I'm really excited about, and I'll probably talk about more in future videos. I'd actually like to do the training maybe, but we'll see. It's a really simple process. Anyone can do it, and he tells you exactly how to do it in his books. So I bought the emotion code. I'm going to buy the body code once I've finished this one. I've put a link to the emotion code underneath this video. I've already done it, so if you want to check that out. But anyway, so let's get on to the whole weight loss and insulin resistance thing. I've got some notes up here. I bought some new scales because I didn't have any scales, but my scales had died about 6 months ago. And I had decided to not bother getting any more for a while because I was a bit obsessed with the whole weight on the scales thing, which isn't really very healthy. To do this, I thought I need scales because I need to be able to track what's actually happening. So I bought a set of Renfo scales, and I'm really impressed with those. I think I spoke about them in my last video. They Bluetooth to your phone to an app, and they show you a whole lot of different metrics, your body fat and BMI and basal metabolic rate and everything. There's about 16 different metrics in there, I think, that it tracks. Where my old scales, they weren't quite as flash as that. They did body fat and everything, but it was on the scale and it didn't connect to your phone. So these scales are really good. So anyway, so what I've done with creating this plan for myself, it's kind of based around a few things, based around insulin. And what I've realized with what I've been learning and what I've been looking into is that I have probably been insulin resistant for most of my life. So even as a teenager, I think that the closest that I have probably ever been to being really insulin sensitive was when I went on a fruitarian diet in my mid-30s. Just going by what happened in my body, the changes and the way that I felt and the changes in my endocrine system. So when I did that, I lost a lot of weight, and I was kind of better in myself, calmer. My menstrual cycle was the best it had ever been. I had a horrible menstrual cycle right from when I first got my period when I was 14, always really heavy, really long periods, apart from a short time when I was on the pill. And that was just something that I dealt with my whole life. I'm so glad that I didn't go to doctors and because I would have probably ended up getting a hysterectomy, and I'm glad I didn't do that. But yeah, I had a lot to kind of deal with through all of that, different periods of my life, especially when I was very heavy. And so what I've learned is that insulin controls all of that. Insulin controls our thyroid and our sex hormones and everything. Insulin is the master hormone, and that's not something that I was aware of. And so through that experience, my earlier experiences, and then through this carnivore journey, what I've realized is that fat, when I eat too much fat, that is a problem. Now, this is something in the carnivore community that doesn't seem to be a very popular topic. And when I mention it on X, I get a lot of backlash from different people saying, fat doesn't affect your glucose levels. Fat does affect your glucose levels, but it more affects your insulin levels. So I'll try and explain from the way that I understand it. So we have been told that fat blunts the glucose response when we eat, right? So, I mean, for years when I was eating vegan and vegetarian, I was adding fat to everything because, it's supposed to keep your blood glucose down. And it does that, kind of. So it'll stop that big spike. If you eat some carbs, some sugar, whatever, and you eat it with fat, your glucose won't spike as high, right? But it spreads it out for longer. And so listening to people who are type 1 diabetic, who actually pay attention to what's going on with themselves, like Tom Frazier, Candy Frazier's husband, so he's type 1 diabetic. Candy Frazier and Tom are the founders of Primal Bod is the program. So it's like a weight loss program. They've been very successful in a very short time with this because they get really good results. And so listening to Tom, and I've been listening to one or two other type 1 diabetics, and what they find is when they eat high fat, they need to use more insulin. So it's the fat in the bloodstream blocks or has some kind of an effect on the insulin receptors in the cell. And so the glucose can't get into the cell as easily. So your body is having to pump out more insulin or if you're injecting insulin, you've got to put more insulin in. So what Tom said in one of his interviews was that, you know, if he eats a ribeye, like one day he ate a ribeye, it took him over 24 hours and about 4 times as much insulin as he would normally eat to get his glucose levels down. So that really, like, when I started listening to this, I'm like, oh my God, this just is so opposite from what we've been told. Now, I don't think that this affects everybody, but if you are already insulin resistant, if depending on your body type, maybe, I'm not really sure, if you're eating protein and fat together, then your body is creating glucose out of the protein, and your body's having to pump out more insulin to get that glucose into the cells, if that makes sense. And then if you're already insulin resistant, then it's even more because your cells don't want it. And so that's been a huge kind of realization and wake up for me, because to most people it doesn't make sense. I mean, we're told in the carnivore community, just eat the fatty meat, you know, eat the butter, eat a stick of butter, eat butter before you go to bed, you know, all of these things. And it seems to work for some people. A lot of those influencers, you will notice, are younger or male. Okay, so for us who are older, postmenopausal females, chances are it's a little bit different. Whether this can be a problem for a lot of people, I don't know. I don't think it's not just me. So it's obviously not just me. But I think it's probably a much more common problem than we realize. So you get a lot of women in particular who get onto carnivore, and they might drop a heap of weight. They might drop 60 pounds and they've still got 20 to go and they can't get rid of it. Or they're on carnivore for a while and then they start gaining weight. So I mentioned this in a video the other day, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann. So she's been carnivore for years. She's one of the OGs, you know, like her and Kelly Hogan have been carnivore for, I don't know, 15 years or something like that. And she's been fine until she hit menopause, and then she started gaining weight. And so she's now experimenting with lowering her fat and that to get the weight off. So this is a thing. This is a thing. And the insulin is key. Now, what else did I want us to talk about? So I've gone on a big rant. So yeah, what I have kind of realized is looking at my past experiences. So as I said, I've been pretty sure I've been insulin resistant for most of my life, most of my adult life, at least. When I went fruitarian, there was no fat. The weight just fell off me, 15 kilos in 3 months. I was eating huge amounts of fruit. And a whole lot of things just seemed to be better. My thyroid issues seemed to be better. My sex hormone issues seemed to be better. And I just put that down to the changes of the amount of fat that was on my body at that stage. You know, I just thought it's because I've got less fat on my body, so my body's producing less estrogen. But I suspect that now I kind of know that it was because there was less fat going into me. And so I was probably more insulin sensitive, until I started reintroducing fats into my diet, which was a few months after I started that. So this is all really interesting and different kind of information than what we are hearing in the mainstream kind of carnivore community. So this is something that I want to test as well. Okay, so as I go forward, when I started this, so last week when I did my video, I was talking about how I plan to test my fasting insulin every month to see whether what I'm doing is actually working for my insulin. So this week I'm down just about 2 kilos, 1.85 kilos in a week, and I haven't reduced what I'm eating. All I've done is change some things around, and I'm not adding any fat. Okay, so everything that I've implemented is about reducing my insulin resistance, about reversing that. So and trying every way that I have heard of to stop my insulin from being high in my body. Okay, so I'm eating large amounts of protein, but I always do. So this is another thing, is when I've tried doing a high fat carnivore diet a few times, and the time that I remember that I did it for the longest, because I would try it and my bowel was really bad, so I'd end up stopping. But the longest that I stuck with it was in April last year, so 2024. I was doing 80-20 or 90-10, you know, over about a 6-week period. So I had my insulin tested prior, and I had my insulin tested after 6 weeks, and my insulin had gone up. My insulin resistance had actually gone up from, I think, from 10 to 14. I can't remember. I haven't got the numbers here, but I spoke about it in my last video. So that surprised me, as I said in those videos, and I stopped doing the high fat. I didn't know why that had happened. I was just like, what the hell? And the reason that I decided to try the high fat like that, I was doing high fat and really low protein, was because I've been listening to Steph, keto person. She goes by on YouTube. So she's a real proponent of high fat and very low protein. And so that's what I was doing, because, you know, I thought, well, I'll try this. This is a more extreme approach of what I'd already been doing, but it didn't have the effect that I expected it to. And so, all right, so I've lost track again. Just going to have a look at my notes. If you have any comments or questions, just pop them in the box there. Okay, so yeah, as I said, I'm down 2 kilos in a week, which is a bit of a wee miracle for me. My calories, I've been eating between 180, I'm tracking everything. I've been eating between 180 and 240 grams of protein a day, just depending. I think yesterday was 240. I think that's the highest it's been. Let me see. Just getting my carb manager out on my phone. That's what I use to track. The scales that I've got a tracking thing on there as well, but it's not as good as Carb Manager. So yesterday was 197 grams of protein, 206 the day before. Oops. 192 the day before. So yeah, I've been sitting up around, it was 161 the day before that, 178. 182 and 152. So I've been kind of aiming for the 180 to 200 grams of protein a day and kind of ignoring the rest. So only eating the fat that comes with the food that I'm eating. So my fat on average to protein ratio has been about 55 to 60 to, you know, 45, 40. And that's just eating, because I'm eating a lot of like rump steak and sirloin, eggs. I've had fish the last couple of days. I had sardines yesterday, and I've had salmon this morning at breakfast. But generally rump and things like that, and eggs. And so that seems to sit around that kind of ratio. So ignoring calories, I mean, my calories have been up around, they've probably been averaging about 2,000 a day, up to 2,200, 2,300 a day. So my calories aren't low. That's not the reason for the weight loss, obviously. I'm only doing a small amount of exercise, and I'm doing exercise at specific time, with specific timing. So I'm exercising about half an hour after each meal, just doing some squats or a few weights, you know, something using bigger muscle groups just for a couple of minutes. And then a couple of days a week, I might do some skipping and maybe some other weights, but yeah, nothing really major. I am still eating my ferments. I eat ferments with just about every meal, kimchi at the moment, because that's what I've got in the fridge. I have still been eating kefir up until this morning, because I was going to stop the dairy at the beginning of the week, but I still had raw milk to make kefir, and so I have thought, oh, well, I'll just keep going until I run out. And so I've run out this morning, but the weight loss has happened even with the kefir every morning. I've been having a cup of kefir every morning with breakfast, and I've still lost weight. So I don't think, I've kind of thought this before when I've experimented, I don't think dairy stops me from dropping weight. That's not the problem. It's the fat. So I will stop the kefir. I may still have some cheese. I'll experiment with that and see how I go. I haven't had any this week, but I will experiment. But obviously, it's not the dairy as such that is having any kind of an effect on my weight loss, because, as I said, I've dropped 2 kilos. I'm eating 2 meals a day. I eat breakfast in the morning, and then I eat before 2 p.m. as my last meal. I did fast one day from breakfast through to the next breakfast, and it was interesting. That day was the only day up until today when I hadn't lost any weight on the scale the next day. So I only had 1,300 calories that day when I fasted. But yeah, when I got on the scale the next day, I hadn't lost any weight. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'll be watching that as well. I eat outside. So I was doing this a while back as well, trying to sort my leptin resistance out, because leptin and insulin are intertwined. Our circadian rhythms are all part of that. Being out in the sunshine and eating outside in that natural light is a really good idea if you've got insulin problems. So we've had one day where it was raining and I couldn't do that this week. But apart from that, I've been sitting outside in the freezing cold in the morning. I've got my hoodie on and my beanie on and my dressing gown on top of my hoodie and sitting there eating my breakfast outside in the natural light. So doing that every day. What else am I doing? Exercising after eating. And so, yeah, so I want to track my glucose and ketones if I can, but I haven't been able to because I can't buy any ketone strips at the moment. I do have urine ketone strips, so I may try using those. I know they're not as accurate and you can't kind of work out your ratio really, but I may do that just to see how far into ketosis I am. The urine strips, from my understanding, I thought that they only worked for a period of time until your body got used to using ketones, but then some people use them for years and still manage to track their ketones. So I don't know. I don't know whether different people are different with that, but I've got 2 containers of the things in the bathroom, so I may use those. Just check and see whether there's any comments or questions. No. Let's have a look. Now, what else have I been doing? As I said, I'm going to test my fasting insulin monthly and see what's changed. And then once I start doing that, I want to experiment with different things. So I want to experiment with eating, I'm probably going to get slammed for this, protein and fruit, but low fat, and see what happens there with my insulin. I'm going to do that at some point, maybe through the summer, because it intrigues me. It's interesting. It's like, so I know Paul Saladino. Poor Paul, he's like the slapping board in the carnivore community. It really annoys me because people really just pick on him. He's honest. He is completely honest about what he's doing. I'm quite sure, as I've said before, if his health turns to shit, he will change again because he's not scared to, obviously. He eats a lot of fruit, but then he does a lot of exercise. But I just there's this real mentality and blinkers in the carnivore community about this stuff, and I just think that there's a whole lot more to this proper human diet than most of us are kind of thinking. I mean, I had an interesting discussion on X the other day. I put up some information about fat affecting my insulin and got some backlash from one person on there who's got quite a lot of followers, and then some people who were following him. And someone came on and said, oh, you better tell the Inuit that they need to eat berries and fruit to be able to survive, So I went and actually looked, because the thing is, people don't look. People just, they listen and they take what these experts or these people with muscles say as gospel, and they don't actually look for themselves to see what's what. And so I went and had a look and found a really good documentary type video going through different things that the Inuit actually eat and have traditionally eaten. And they eat berries. They have berries in the Arctic that are available almost all year, because a lot of them freeze in the snow and they get them out of the snow. They make like an ice cream with fat that they whip up by hand, raw fat that they whip up by hand. They put the berries in and then they put snow into it and make that. And that's a traditional food of theirs. So they are eating berries most of the year. They make teas out of different plants. This is the thing, is we don't have any understanding of what these people have access to, or what our ancestors had access to, or what knowledge they have to find different foods and create different foods and stuff. So we just have this limited view of, we've got steak in the supermarket and eggs, and so that's what we eat. And, you can't have carbs because they cause diabetes and all these problems. And it's like, I'm someone who questions things. I always have. And I like to look at, if I've got a question, I like to try and find the answer and have some kind of understanding of what I'm discussing. And, like, I'm probably not always right when I talk about things. I try to only be absolute if I'm fairly sure of what I'm saying. Otherwise, I tend to always say, I'm not 100% sure, but there's so much nuance around all of this, and it's not black and white like a lot of people coming into the carnivore diet kind of think it is. So as I said, the dairy, I'll probably keep eating some cheese off and on and just test that and see how it goes with my weight, see if it makes a difference. I have started a new morning routine just recently, and that's making a difference as well. As I said, I've been reading the emotion code and releasing trapped emotions from my body and from my husband's body. It's really simple, and you use muscle testing, and I'll talk more about that in future videos. I think that this is a technique that can make a massive difference to people's health, their body, their mindset, their lives, because we inherit stuff from our ancestors through our genetics, and that's emotion as well. According to Dr. Bradley Nelson, and I think he's right, because I've been working on people's bodies for years, right? And I've known for a long time that emotions are a huge part of why people have these ongoing issues that keep recurring, that won't go away. I've known that it was emotional stuff, and I've known for myself that a lot of what's been going on with me, with my bowel and everything, is emotional, and probably passed down because my mother's had bowel issues, my father's had bowel issues, and I don't know further on. We've all got trauma through those, through our ancestry and our DNA, and they reckon that it's passed down at least 7 generations. So, the wars and ancestors that have been in wars, they've passed we've potentially inherited a lot of these trapped emotions and stuff from people in our family. So that's something I've been aware of. And so this emotion code book has really got me kind of excited and optimistic that I've finally found the answer to some of what's been going on with me and with other people. So I probably will start using this on clients as well, because you do get people who, with what I do in my clinic, I do some massage still these days, but I do mostly contact care, and it gets amazing results, but still people will come back with the same issues. It might be a year down the track, but whatever it was has come back. So, and I believe that that's emotion that's trapped in their bodies. So I've been reading that or listening to it because I got the audio book. I have started listening to Abraham Hicks again. So if you don't know who Abraham Hicks is, jump on YouTube and have a listen. It might not be your gig. For me, I love Abraham. I used to listen to Abraham every day for years. And then in 2020, when this whole COVID nonsense started, and my husband and I started diving down all sorts of rabbit holes, learning all sorts of things. I already knew a lot about the corruption in this world because I've been kind of awake to a lot for a long time. But I learned a whole lot of other things. And there was a lot that were probably misinformation as well. But we started diving down all this stuff. And so we both stopped listening to Abraham, because my husband had just started listening to Abraham probably 10 years ago when we first moved back to New Zealand. And we would sit and listen every morning. And it just would put me in this really good space, and, just, I don't know, it makes me feel good, and it changes the way I think about the world and think about things. And so when I stopped, I think a whole lot of things kind of went a little bit backwards, but I have started again listening to Abraham every day for the last probably 5 or 6 weeks, I guess. And so I listen to usually a couple of 15-minute videos when I first get up. I make myself a cup of hot water with a teaspoon of Sole in it. So, the concentrated salt, Sole solution. And I sit down and I put my headphones in and I listen to a couple of Abraham videos. And then I'll put on some handpan music on YouTube. I love handpan. The vibration from handpan is amazing. And so I'll put some handpan on, and then I sit there and I just write down everything good that happened yesterday. And then I'm also doing a process, one of Abraham's processes, which I won't talk about at the moment, but I write all that in the morning as well. And then I'll quite often, most mornings, I'll get on my rebounder and then I make breakfast. I just do my rebounder for a few minutes first thing in the morning. I was doing more exercise in the morning, but now I'm leaving it till later in the day because I'm working on my insulin. And so I'll get on the rebounder just for a couple of minutes and then, make breakfast to go and sit outside and have breakfast and listen to something else usually, or just sit there and listen to the birds. So that's my morning routine at the moment. So that's what I'm up to. That's what I'm doing. I think I've kind of explained most of what I'm doing with regards to my insulin and my weight right now. Is anybody that's on here, there's a few watching, I see. Have anyone got any questions? Oh, we've got here Susie, good morning. As much as I appreciate Chafee, he has made quite a few comments, facts that are not accurate. Yeah, I agree with Dr. Chafee. Dr. Chafee, I like him. He's obviously a really nice guy, but he's very black and white with all of this and with the whole plants are trying to kill you thing. And, plants have got so much to offer. I've been a big fan of herbs and herbal medicine forever, and I still use herbs now. I stopped initially when I started on carnivore and found that I needed them. They have so much to offer. At the moment I'm taking black seed oil every morning, and black seed oil has such amazing benefits for immunity. It helps with gut health and digestive health. That was why I started taking it again, because I had been taking it a while back when I was doing another thing to get rid of mold out of my body. So I was taking black seed oil and chlorella to detox mold, just in case I still had some left in my body. Because if you haven't watched me, I had mold illness when I came into carnivore, and so that's been part of my journey. So I just did a round, for, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks with black seed oil and chlorella. And then I stopped both of them. But I realized that when I was taking the black seed oil, my digestive system was actually quite a lot better. So I've started back on it again a few weeks ago. So I'm taking that, just a teaspoonful every day. It has a lot to offer. I'm a huge fan of things like slippery elm. Slippery elm I've used loads for my gut. At the moment, hubby and I are doing a parasite cleanse. So we're taking a blend of wormwood, green walnut, and clove. It's a Now brand one, I think. And so we're doing that, and then we'll have a break, and then we'll do it again. So, this is herbs are the medicine. They've always been the medicine, and humans have always used them. If you look back at all traditional cultures, we've used herbs. And even, I put on a couple of videos a while back on X, didn't get much response from them, of lions and tigers eating leaves and grasses. And I'm quite certain that they're doing that to clear parasites, because they know what they're doing. We've just lost our way. Humanity, the human species, have been purposely dumbed down so that we don't know a lot of what we used to know. But we're at a time now where things are coming back. That this is the time. If you don't know, this is the time of the Great Awakening, and people are waking up, and all of these older ways are coming back. And this is what part of this carnivore diet thing that's growing so quickly is humans getting back to a proper diet, because we've been so conned and just don't even know the word for it, into all this ultra processed food and chemicals and things like that, and that's what's made people so sick. And so we're kind of at this place where we're doing this big U-turn and getting back to the way that we're supposed to be living and eating and being and knowing, Dr. Chafee, he's I've heard him say things like, just eat meat and your bowel flora will correct itself. No, doesn't happen, Dr. Chafee. That's not the way it works. For some people it might, or it might appear to. I have a theory that some of these people whose gut health seems to be so much better on carnivore, they actually haven't healed it. And that's why if they go off even a little bit, they start having problems again. The same with autoimmune diseases. They haven't healed their microbiome. They have basically suppressed what was going on. That's my thoughts around it. Mary Ruddock, If you haven't heard of Mary Ruddock, look her up. She's fantastic. She works with a lot of very ill people. She was very ill when she was younger, and she's become quite an expert, as much as you can be these days, on the microbiome. And she's concerned that people who are eating just red meat, salt, and water, or just carnivore foods without any kind of plant material, are killing off their microbiome that they were born with. And they may, over time, get to a point where they can't go back because their microbiome's gone. So that kind of makes sense to me a little bit. She said it will take a while for that to happen, like, probably years, but it may happen. And so then they're basically stuck with what they're eating because that's all their microbiome can handle. So, that's something to be mindful of. My rebounder that I have a lymphocyzer. You can see it. Can you see it in the back there? There. Yeah. So it's a lymphocyzer. I think they're a New Zealand brand, and they have like a rainbow colored pattern around where the springs are. I think you can probably just see it there. They're a really good brand. They're an older brand, but they're really good. I bought it secondhand somewhere. And yeah, yeah, you love your medicinal herbs as well, Susie. Yeah, they have so much to offer. I think that nature and God, whatever you want to call it, that source that created everything, did this stuff, like it put these things on the planet for a purpose, and so yeah, that's herbs can really, like in my journey, having had mold illness and some other stuff going on, without herbs I wouldn't have been able to make it. I wouldn't have been able to keep going with what I was doing because I was having so many symptoms, so much going on with my bowel and stuff, that I had to use herbs to be able to function day to day and to be able to get that mold out of my body. The herbs, like correcting SIBO, I use herbs for SIBO. I did SIBO yogurt, but I also used things like clove and artichoke and ginger because they help with motility in the small intestine. And so, without those, I don't think that it would have corrected, because when you're exposed to mold and it's growing in your body and it's growing in your small intestine, which I'm pretty sure is what was happening with me, there's really no other way to get rid of it. You have to use herbs. Oregano. What's the other stuff called? I can't think what the other one's called. So it might come to me. But yeah, all of these herbs that are antifungal and can help to get rid of these molds and viruses and parasites and things from our bodies. Because if you're super healthy and you haven't got anything going on, then you're probably fine. But when your body becomes overloaded with stuff, it can easily become more overloaded, and so you end up with multiple things going on that you've kind of got to address, kind of layer by layer. And that's what I've been doing over the last 3 years. I didn't get some of those layers, I didn't get right, and so it caused myself a little bit of misery, but I've kind of have got there in the end, or just about there. I'm so much better than what I was. And yeah, the herbs are just essential. So what have we got here, Susie? I agree with the healing. I've been carnivore for 16 months, although my gut was healed to a degree. That's good. So are you finding, Susie, that you're doing well now after 16 months, or you still have things going on? Not sure whether you're still there or not. But yeah, so that's, unless anyone else has got any more questions or comments or anything, if you do, pop them in the chat. I'm probably going to get going in a minute because I've got to go into town and meet a friend for a coffee. I don't think I'll have a coffee. I'll probably have a herbal tea, but we're going to go and have a catch up anyway and go and get a couple of things at the shops. So I've got a time that I have to meet her. So yeah, so is that it? Looks like that might be it. No more comments coming through. So yeah, so first week of my plan, 2 kilos, nearly 2 kilos down, feeling good and looking forward to seeing what the next few weeks brings. I will try and do a live every Monday morning at this time. Monday I don't see clients, and so most of the time on a Monday I can do a live and I'll do an update with what's happening and my weight loss and everything else. And I will try and remember to put a notification up like the night before. Like I did it last night. A lot of the time I forget, but I'll try and get into the habit so that you know if I'm going to go live in the morning and what time. All right, so I think that's it. I think I've talked about everything that I was going to talk about today. I got myself, that's one thing I didn't have on my list, but I thought I should mention, got myself in a big flat this morning because I make jewelry. And it's a new hobby over the last 4 years or so. And I have an Etsy store, and you can get there by going to silverbysue.com. And so this is some of my bits that I've just made in the last couple of days. So this little pendant here, don't know if you can see, if the camera's working on that. So a little pendant, I finished this ring. So I'm doing a bit of stuff with sea glass at the moment, which I really love. And so this little ring, don't know, if I go too close, I think my camera's going to go blurry. So this little ring and little turquoise pendant as well, which is quite cute. So I have an Etsy store, as I said, silverbysue.com. And my hardest task so far has been getting these things photographed and getting them up on the Etsy store. Taking the photographs has been a real learning curve. I'm still not great at it. It takes me hours. And then listing them. But then I sold a piece of jewelry off my Etsy store. So I've been selling jewelry in New Zealand for a little while, but I decided to set up the Etsy store so I could sell overseas, right? So a lady in the United States bought a penannular brooch off me the other day. And so I've had to ship it this morning. Oh my God, what a nightmare. Trying to figure out what I needed to do to ship this blasted thing to the United States. Yeah, photographing jewelry is very difficult, Susie. Are you a jeweler as well? Yeah, it's so hard. I'm getting there. I am getting there. My photos are so much better than they were, but it's really hard because everything just reflects off it, and you can make it look really crappy and make it look like it's got all sorts of flaws if you don't photograph it well. And what did you say? Your gut's not completely healed with eating berries and no dairy. How do you think you will go with oxalate? So my oxalate journey, Susie, has been massive. I'm loads better now. I still do go through patches of oxalate dumping, but for the first probably 18 months, that was a huge part of what my diarrhea was, because it just got so much worse, and it was oxalate dumping because I started to recognize the symptoms, but now I will have patches where my bowel might play up. I just feel a bit yuck in the gut. I might have some sore muscles or whatever. I still get a little bit of vulvodynia sometimes, not bad like it used to be, but it still happens. And so I kind of recognize the symptoms when they're happening. Sometimes it takes a day or so. I'm like, God, I feel like shit. And then it's like, oh, I'm oxalate dumping. So that's what it is. But I've actually ordered some potassium citrate because someone said that they use potassium citrate and it basically stopped their oxalate dumping. And I've never tried it. I went to order some ages ago and I ordered potassium chloride by mistake. And I took a little bit of that, but I wasn't keen on taking it because it's not a very good source of potassium and can cause problems. So I ended up throwing it out. But I've got some potassium citrate coming from iHerb. So I will take that when it comes and see if that helps to stop that bit of oxalate dumping that's happening or manage it in a better way. But yeah, the jewelry side of things, yeah, so let's get back to this package, trying to send it to the United States. Oh my Lord, there's so many bits of paper. There's like 3 commercial invoices you've got to go, 3 labels and all of these things, and I'm trying to work it all out. And then this morning I went to push the button to get the courier to pick it up and then realized, because I'm rural, it's going by FedEx. I don't know if they pick up here. It's not the post office that picks up like usual. It's another company, and it's not FedEx. It's another in between, company, and they need their own labels, 2 copies. And then they had my old address on that label, so I had to phone the courier company. So I managed to get myself quite stressed before I even got on here this morning, but I've calmed down now. I was like, whoo, take some homeopathic remedies and stuff and just kind of settle in some essential oils and settle back down. So sitting here chatting has kind of gradually settled things down. And hopefully the courier manages to pick that up in the next day or two and get that away. It's going to California to a lady there. So hopefully it makes it. Fingers crossed, pray for me, and that I've got it all right and I've got all my bits of paper there. Otherwise, they'll turn the bloody thing around and send it back probably. So that's it. I think I'm finished and I need to go because I've got to go and meet my friend in town. So I'll talk to you later. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again another day. Bye for now.